matter what, but because of our faith, we come together to remember, to commemorate, to celebrate, to say thank you to God for on this occasion. We're commemorating and celebrating lives that have been affected by the pandemic. So this is a sober, somber, but also joyful occasion, and we will have our ceremony together, and then afterwards we will have tea together and share in fellowship, share around the table, share in meeting together. So good that you could come. The intention of this ceremony is to honour those who passed away and those who've been giving service during the pandemic. It is a time to stop and to reflect. And it's good to remember that there is more that unites us than divides us, and on times like this we can stand together united. I'm going to welcome various people. We're going to start with the Mayor, Councillor Leon Lyons, who will come and welcome you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your lovely words. The welcome is certainly warmer than the weather at the moment. I love coming here. It's such a peaceful, beautiful place. The ideal setting really for the commemoration that we're about to do. 2 years ago, coronavirus wasn't in anybody's vocabulary. It just wasn't a thing that we'd heard of. And then as we began to hear of it as something happening in lands far, far away from here, I think it took everybody by surprise when it spread across the globe and affected us here in the UK in ways that we could never have predicted or imagined. I think early on we were facing a massive unknown, and many people have sadly lost their lives through that, including here in Woking. We weren't immune to it by any stretch. I had a very sobering thought recently. About a month ago I tested positive for COVID, and initially I just thought it was a pain in the neck because I had to stay in for 10 days, but then I started to get ill. To cut a long story short, I ended up in St Peter's Hospital for a night, and that was with 2 vaccines. And I remember the doctor saying to me that if we didn't have a vaccine, it might have been for me a very different outcome. So I think of people who put their lives on the line, on the front line in the National Health Service and in lots of other frontline services that we've really only come to appreciate in light of the publicity that surrounds them over their service of COVID. And people who risked their lives before the vaccine existed, people who risked their lives before we really knew what we were dealing with, and even now there are still people succumbing to this awful, awful illness. So I'm really pleased to further welcome you here today to remember those who lost their lives to COVID, and of course to celebrate and thank people who put themselves forward to serve people who needed it in that time, including patients and victims of COVID. And of course to remember that while things are getting better, we're not out of this yet. We're not out of it until the entire world is out of it. So thank you very much for coming here today to do that together.